Okay, gentlemen, so today is Or Lechet Mar Heshvan. Are we the 8th of 7th of November 2019? Or Lechet Mar Heshvan, Tafshin Peh. Okay, so we're studying what were the issues that Maimonides confronted, that were confronting Maimonides. Let's put it that way. Better yet, what were the issues that Maimonides confronted? So when you have a great mind, Hashem puts a great mind in a particular point in time, in a particular space. He put him, one of the greatest minds that ever lived. He put him there for a reason, because there were certain issues confronting the Jewish people, right? And the issue that confronted the Jewish people was the incredible success of the Muslim, not just religion, the Muslim political system. They were incredibly successful. They were conquering lands, right? And the fanatic Muslims were basically overtaking the moderate Muslims. So what happened is, for many, many years, the Jews lived in relative peace with the moderate Muslims, and the moderate Muslims respected the Jews, and there was an exchange of intellectual ideas, and things were quite nice, relatively speaking, if you look at our history. And what happened is that there was a fanatic Muslim, Ibn Tumart, in somewhere in the Atlas Mountains in Morocco, and he began a movement of gathering people around them, and basically they started conquering land. And as they conquered land, they gave people a choice: either convert to Islam or we'll kill you. And many Jews began to think about, well, they're doing so well. The Muslims are doing well. Hashem is helping them. Let's just put it in a modern phraseology. So it must be that Hashem loves them, because we, the Jewish people, we've been in exile. Well, at that point, we've been in exile for well over 1,000 years, and the Muslims now are just taking over, and they're like, and it's not just that, but also intellectually, the Muslims, they began to think about what Achdut Hashem means, and they were quite clever. I mean, they really were intelligent. I mean, we can say, well, they were wrong, but they were really smart. They were sophisticated thinkers. And then, the Jews are like, we're like at the very bottom. So many Jews began to find Islam to be, let's say, a competing system, okay? And that's why we needed Chachamim like Harambam to show why it's not a competing system, right? So that's kind of like some of the history. And you sit next to me because you know how to use your phones. Open up the phone for me. I had it on the right page. And the teacher of the father of Harambam was Rabbi Yosef ibn Megas. And that's when it all started. It started with Rabbi Yosef ibn Megas. And they say that Harambam met him when he was young, when he was 5-6 years old. And he started thinking about, how can we reduce the basic, let's call it philosophical tenets of Judaism, into an organized system. Until then, it wasn't an organized system. So who started thinking about it? It was Rabbi Yosef ibn Megas. And I'm going to start reading now from the book, okay, about this. Yeah, we just go a little up. Yeah, okay. Harav Yosef ibn Megas uvet midrasho. Ra'u nechocha et ha-mashber haruchani she'avar al Am Yisrael. So, as I said, Rabbi Yosef ibn Megas and his Bet Midrash. Where was his Bet Midrash? His Bet Midrash was in Lucena, right? The southern Spain. And for those of you who are subscribed to my YouTube channel, I noticed, Mark, that you're smiling. Yeah. So Lucena rabbi, because I try to align myself intellectually with Rabbi Yosef ibn Megas and the Rif and Harambam. Rabbi Yosef ibn Megas was the Talmid of Rabbi Yitzhak al-Fasi. So that's why I call myself, in the YouTube channel, Lucena rabbi. Okay, I've never been in Lucena. I've never been in Lucena, but it's just my YouTube channel. So for what it's worth, there it is. You got it. Okay? So anyway, Rabbi Yosef ibn Megas, they saw clearly the spiritual crisis that was passing upon the Jewish people. And they knew that now is the time to set forth in writing and organize the basic philosophical tenets of Judaism, right? וההלכה ברוח המחשבה הרבנית. And when we say philosophical tenets of Judaism, we mean, of course, in accordance with the Talmudic rabbis. We don't invent it. This is really important. It's not like the Yisrael Megas said, let's invent philosophical Jewish philosophy. No. It's a philosophy that was just part of the regular Jewish study. You know, when Jews studied, you know, and they studied Torah, they understood this. They didn't need to say, oh, let's sit down and study philosophy. That's just the way they thought. That's just the way they saw things, right? But now it was the time to set it down in writing because they realized if they don't, people are going to get lost. ניסוח שישמש למאמין אמצעי בוחן בין הערכים המקוריים בישראל ובין הדברים הטפלים שנתוספו. And in this way, when we set forth this writing, it will enable us to understand the real original values of Judaism and things that were added on later. Boy, a lot of things were added on later. I mean, today it's like, you know, like things that are like really just foreign to original Jewish thinking, let's put it that way. And then you have the real Yesodei Torah, which, you know, I'm teaching you every Wednesday night. I teach Yesodei Torah. Well, I teach it for a reason, because people are so confused nowadays that they're like, you know, they don't know what's real and what's not. So like, it's like, I kind of like once...
Good question.
So people are really confused, and they don't get it. So it's like, you know, I mentioned this story I think on Shabbat, but it's like it's a real story, and it's like, so I'm like one of my, you know, a client when I was in Israel, he takes me, it was a Hilulah of Rabbi Chaim ben Atta. Like there's this great obsession with when rabbis died, like, you know, so when a rabbi died, you go to their grave because they're there, right? And if you go to the grave of the rabbi, maybe you'll meet the rabbi. Maybe you'll feel his presence, right? So you got to go to the grave. I mean, wow. That poor rabbi. I mean, he's there all the time. So we got to visit him sometimes, right? Because like he's alone, so he died. Let's go now. Anyway, I go to the grave. Thousands of people. I mean, all of Jerusalem is like one big mass of traffic. I'm not kidding, by the way. It was like crazy just to get there. It was like, you know, maybe it was like a 10-minute walk, but it was like a, you know, a 2-hour drive. Beruchim habayim. I have not seen you in a while. Nice to see you. Yeah, good. So, and everybody is at the grave praying fervently with their backs to the holy mountain where the Beit HaMikdash was. Because the way the behind the grave is, well, they didn't have to do that. They could have actually gone on the other side of the grave and just faced the grave and the holy mountain. But why face the holy mountain of God when you have the grave, right? I mean, that's like just crazy. I mean, like, really? That just blows the mind. And they're all there, like, you know, really, really into it. And then outside they have drinks, alcohol, and, you know, stuff like that. And they're all getting, I mean, I don't know. So these are foreign ideas, you see? But these types of foreign ideas are exactly what the Chachamim wanted to avoid. So when Harambam sets forth in writing the Yesodei Torah, it's not like he invented it. He was just distilling the lessons that he got from his teachers and from their teachers, and it was started with Rabbi Yosef ben Megas, the teacher of his father, and then Harambam finally set it forth in writing. Okay, so that's just so important because there's so much nonsense out there.
People, like, whether or not it's mutar or asur to be in the graves,
yes,
to go to the graves. I know from like asking people that a lot of people think that you're mamash praying to the met.
Right. That you're praying.
They've lost the point.
That you're praying to the dead. Right. Elohim Yishmo, mamash avodah zarah. Right. I know. I've seen tefillot to Mama Rachel. Right. So I've actually seen prayers, you know, to Mama Rachel. Right.
So he'll do that today. You know.
Yeah, but and you know, I'm okay. By the way, I'm okay with people visiting. You know, I know Harav Ovadia Yosef says he didn't used to do this. By the way. He did not do that, and he was obviously alluding to this because he understood that it's wrong. But you want to go, but don't pray to the dead person. I mean, you know, I don't think that the dead person is there. And I always say this. You want to connect with Rabbi Chaim ben Atta? I mean, really connect with him? Read his books. And you know, really, like, you know, wake up 2 a.m, the day of his your site, and just get into it. I mean, deeply, sweat and read his books, and he'll, he will appreciate that. Yeah. Very good. Okay, I have to take that.
Rabbi,
A lot of books.
Rabbi, but that's because they feel that the modern world is gonna do some kind of wrong to them.
Right.
And instead of looking at flowers,
Yeah.
instead of looking at maybe, I hate to say this word, but safe TV, like
Yeah.
they engross themselves and they have nothing else, and they put their energy into.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
You
They have nothing else.
understand? It's like, you have to almost step away from certain things to appreciate really Hashem's really.
Yeah, I totally understand. And I understand the psychological reasons behind that obsession. I totally get it. But nevertheless, our job is to define and to refine. Okay? So you have to define the tenets of Judaism and refine our thinking and get rid of the pesolet, get rid of the stuff that is just not true. Because when you get obsessed with things that are not true, you get farther and farther from God. And that's not a good thing, to be far from God. רבי יהודה הלוי יצא ראשון בהתנגדות חריפה וכללית למושג החוק הטבעי מתוך הכרה עמוקה שמושג זה סותר את העיקרים היסודיים שבאמונת ישראל. First things first, natural law. The idea of natural law posits that outside of the rubric creator world, so there's a creator, that's Hashem, and there's a world that he created, there are certain overarching rules of morality. And these rules of morality are absolute rules that don't have to do with the fact that God legislated. Meaning, how do we know that it's wrong to rob? Well, how do we know that it's wrong to rob?
It's a commandment.
Because the Torah says, lo tignob. Yeah, it's a mitzvah, right? Is that what you said? Sefer mitzvah?
Commandment.
Oh, okay, I thought it said, lo tignob.
It's a commandment.
It's a commandment, right? Let's say Hashem.
Before the Torah, Sheva mitzvot Noach.
100%. Hashem gave Adam shesh mitzvot b'nei Noach.
But it still came from God.
And then when Noach came, he gave him the seventh mitzvah, Eva min achai. So the point is, the idea of natural law posits that there's something above. There's something above, right? That's a natural law. And that is a foreign idea to Judaism. We believe that these laws come from Hashem. There's nothing natural about them. This is really important, okay? It's not natural. It's not nature. The same way there's no Mother Nature. Why do people say, Mother Nature? Every time I watch a documentary, like there's amazing things in the world. Like the way the birds navigate. It's crazy how they can navigate from one place to the other. So they always say Mother Nature. I mean, what does that even mean?
That's all the pagan religions had in the first
Right.
order.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. So it's like they can connect with the idea of Mother Nature, but God forbid you should say God, because if you say God, you're a heretic. So but Mother Nature is just an empty, like I can say, blah blah blah. The pink elephant. It's because of it's a pink elephant. The pink elephant. That's why they know that. It doesn't mean anything. It's a meaningless. It's just a you're joining sounds together. Say, oh, Mother Nature. Yeah, I kind of get that, right? Well, it doesn't mean anything. But why is Mother Nature so important? Because there's something natural. It's outside the rubric of creator, created. That's what natural law is. They're saying there's rules of morality that transcend us and God. You don't need God for these rules of morality. That's wrong. Hashem created the world, and he determined that in the world he created as he wished it to create, there will be murder and there will be murderers, and that's wrong. You are not supposed to murder. You understand? That's a choice that Hashem gave man, right? And he doesn't want you to do that. That's the way he created the world. That's a rule of the world, right? Didn't have to be like that. So Rabbi Yehuda Halevi, he goes against natural law. And he says, continuing now in the... Rabbi Yehuda Halevi was in the generation of Rabbi Avraham ibn Ezra. So we're talking now like a little... also around the time of Harambam.
About 80 years before.
Before a little before Harambam even.
I think he was the generation of the Reef, no?
Yes, correct. Hazaku Baruch. Okay.
We sing many of the songs of Yehuda Levi in Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, and also in
the Mishmarot and so on, so maybe it was a great quality.
Right, and Mechila, I stand corrected. You, of course, he was a generation or two before Harambam, because Rabbi Avraham ben Daud comes after Rabbi Yehuda Halevi. Rabbi Avraham ben Daud was the author of a book called Sefer HaKabbalah, and this Sefer HaKabbalah, where he brings all the rabbis, he doesn't bring Harambam because it was written before Harambam. You understand? So obviously Rabbi Yehuda Halevi was before Harambam. Okay, that's obvious. Let me tell you what happened with Rabbi Avraham ben Daud. So here we have another thing in Judaism, and I talk about this a lot, the idea of mythology. So religions have mythologies. Every religion has its mythologies. And it's so important to understand Judaism does not have mythology. So what's the difference between mythology and, let's say, history? Time. History takes place in a very precise place, in a very precise time. Mythology doesn't have. When did Romus and Romulus, get found by those wolves? I mean, the question itself is a funny question. It's irrelevant. Nobody really cares when. And there is no time where it took place, right? These are all just these mythological stories. They don't exist in time. And there's a great scholar from the days of World War II, Mircea Eliade, who writes a lot about mythology, and he points out that time is an irrelevant notion in the context of mythology. Mircea Eliade, the sacred and the profane. So that's important. He writes Sefer HaKabbalah. Why does he do that? Because again, he wanted to show what's special about Judaism. So what does he do? He writes this book of historical chronology. When did Avraham Avinu live? We know exactly when he lived. He was born in the year 1949 to the Jewish calendar, although there's a year discrepancy between Rabbad and Rashi. Rashi says 1948, Rabbad says 1949. Nevertheless, Rabbi Avraham ben Daud, 1949. When did the Jewish people get the Torah? We know exactly the year. So it's not mythology. It was the year 2449. We know the date that they entered Midbar Sinai. It was Rosh Chodesh Sivan. So everything takes a historical definition. That's so important. So now, it's not just a fairy tale. So if you know that, it's talking to you. And not only that, now that you know its history, they can't con you. Nobody's going to come with a fairy tale and say, there was once this princess that was flying in the air. Because that can only talk to you. If you yourself believe in mythology, then you'll replace your mythology with somebody else's. But if you have a historical foundation, they can't sketch you anymore. So now you see the wisdom of our Chachamim. Rabbi Avraham ben Daud, first thing he does, history. This is every single year. We know when Yosef was sold as a slave. We know when the Jewish people entered the land of Israel. We know when the Beit HaMikdash was built. We know when it was destroyed. We know the date, everything. You understand why it's so important to get that? So now we're no longer susceptible to the nonsense of the Goy religions. Yes, sir.
So there's two questions which you gotta ask,
Yeah.
because I just came to mind. What's the difference between mythology and the Midrashim? What's the difference between mythology and Midrashim, which a lot of times go and give you all kinds of stories of,
Yes.
of unrealistic things, and mythology and Mishalim? A lot of times we have in the Torah all kinds of Mishalim,
Yeah.
which don't seem so literally explainable.
Right. So let me explain to you. The Midrashim, and this is so important, or the Aggadot, there is no contention that it's a historical fact. This is so important. So let's say the Jewish people, the Hachamim, were artists, right? So some artists, they know how to take a canvas, and they know how to take paint, and they know how to make beautiful images on the canvas, and that's lovely. And then you have other artists who know how to make jewels, right? So they know how to take stones, and they know exactly how to, position them and carve them and shape them and what colors to put next to what colors, and they have a vision. So what was the art of the Chachamim? The Aggadot, the Midrashim. And they really are beautiful. When you look at it, when you look at the Midrashim, at the Aggadot, is the poetic wisdom of the Jewish Chachamim. It was a type of poetry. It's beautiful, right? Sometimes you just read the Midrash. I don't look at it as history, but it's just so beautiful and invigorating spiritually, right? So I'm not, and there's a truth to it. There's a truth to these Midrashim. But you just let it, just enjoy it because we're there to enjoy the Torah. There's a certain beauty in the Torah that the same way when an artist sees like a sunset, you can pass by the sunset, you'll see it a million times. But then suddenly you go to the museum and you see the Van Gogh, the way he drew that, like, wow, that's beautiful. So he took something that we weren't paying attention to. So that's what the Hachamim are doing. We all read the Torah every day, and sometimes we don't pay attention to some things. And then there's a midrash, and it brings out that beauty. You understand? So it's not history. It's not history. Yes, sir.
I wasn't here last week, I missed Parashat Noach. But Rashi says that when Noach brought two animals, non-kosher, to the Teva,
Yeah.
he also says that the Shedim came.
Yeah.
Is that literal?
So that's a beautiful.
What does Shedim mean?
Oh, Shedim means like
Hebrew word.
Shedim means demons.
Okay, so always say
Yeah. I will,
extra.
and if I forget, please tell me. I want you to understand. Demons. So that's an example of the midrash. What does it mean? What were
Is
those
there a
demons?
Midrash? According to Rashi?
Yeah. No, Rashi brings midrashim all the time, of course. Rashi, the master of midrashim, and he brings beautiful midrashim. Really like he distilled many of the midrashim, brought the midrash that would be interesting to the reader at the simple, level, which is what he wanted to do. And that's a beautiful, beautiful midrash, and it's so deep that Noach brought demons with him. I mean, he really did bring demons. I mean, just look around you. They're all over the place, these demons, and it's sad, but it's like,
Demons
and it
as
makes
an
us
an-
cringe.
Demons as an animal?
Or demons as people whose neshama is defective and they're like inhabited by these weird things. Okay,
That's
here.
mysticism.
go to Mexico, south of the Arizona border.
Brazil?
I mean, no, what just happened to that family?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, those are not human beings. You got it. But they're not. They're not in the image of God. What?
4% of all humans are like sociopaths.
Whatever it is. But those creatures,
Yeah.
those creatures are not humanoids. I mean, just because they have the DNA of a human being doesn't make them. They're not humanoids. They're so that's an example of the shedim that Noach. So when Noach brought the whole human race with him on the Teva, he brought these demons with him as well.
He didn't bring human race. Didn't he bring
Well,
just his...
Because all the future generations came out of him.
Right.
The human race that stayed behind got eradicated. The human race that he brought was him, his sons, their wives, his wife,
So he brought
and the
future
entire, the 70 nations all came out of Noah.
future souls.
And with the future souls, there were demons. That's why I understand that midrash. I think it's a
But demons don't need there's nothing to worry about the flood.
Hmm?
They can't get killed from the flood.
right. So
Why do they need to be on the boat?
right. So there's a certain, let's say, there's a certain esoteric layer here which I can't get into beyond what I already said. There is something esoteric here. I'm kind of like, whatever that is. There is such thing as a ruach ra'ah. There is whatever.
Right, it's
But I'm not getting into it now because it's not a class on esoteric. So I won't delve into that subject. But my father wanted to say something. Ike, pour me water. Yes, Daddy, you wanted to say something?
I just wanted to say that demons are a fact, and they inhabit the human mind.
Yes.
I think that a demon inhabited the mind of Adolf Hitler and other
Thank you.
crazy nuts.
Demons is the same as devil?
Ooh, nice. That's nice.
Shigaon, crazy man.
Oh.
Yes, and this, according to Rambam, there is only one place where the demons live, and that is the human mind. Right?
I
The human
absorb-
mind,
I gotta absorb that.
the human mind
Is what you make
is
of
the
it.
place where demons live. All right? And so part of the mitzvot and so on is to prevent those demons
You wanna say?
to take hold of our mind.
Right.
All right?
But I think it's a living creature.
Say, I want to
I
say
think
something,
it is.
something in this direction. Because you live in New York, you never experienced what I want to say. But there's some crazy people.
Did Shlomo capture the king of the demons?
Yes, he did. Ashmedai. What does that mean? That's another great
Another
subject to
midrash.
study about. No, there's a very, it's absolutely, by the way, and it has a tremendous esoteric meaning to it.
I mean, if you go to New York, that is a city dominated by demons. You know, I mean, you go certain areas of New York, Shedim. These are the real Shedim.
Right.
And Shedim, by the way, shed means vigor, core. There are, some people that they look like humans, but they are Shedim. They are Shedim. They only know the language of brutality. This is the Shedim. Huh?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I once asked you, I actually don't remember if I asked you this, is maybe demon and demayon are the same word?
Of course.
I think it's the same word.
Arabam.
Dimayon means imagination, because the demon, it latches itself on the imagination of the person. The best example of a demon in the Tanakh, and just to show you that I take it seriously, when I said that the demons came with Noah, I didn't mean to say that there are no demons. I'm saying it has a deep meaning to it, and which I'm not getting into. But just the best example is Shaul. Shaul was one of the most beautiful human beings in the Tanakh, and then his mind got infested by this ruach ra'ah, and he went nuts, and he did the worst. The things that Shaul did, from killing the city of the Kohanim, Kohanim, all pious Saddiqim, and he just massacred them. I mean, it just shows you what the demon can do to a person's mind. But anyway, we're not studying now about demons. We mentioned it, and then we will continue. Okay?
I just want to say that I wrote, I don't know if it's a book or an article, Demons of the Mind. And these are the Shedim. And the Shedim inhabit the human mind. Unless for some none.
Yes.
Exorcism.
Right. Okay. Harav Abraham bin Daud yasa harav l'sayyi. Okay, we said that. So, wait, I'm sorry. Wait. Who ifhin? Okay, now this is another important thing. So we spoke about history. So first of all, one of the things that these Hachamim from Lucena, from Cordova, they did was they framed Judaism in terms of precise history. So that already protects us, immunizes us from the nonsense of mythology and other religions. Okay. Now there's something else they did.
He was the Sefer Kabbalah.
Sefer Kabbalah. Okay, good. And it's a great book, by the way, we can study it one day.
It's translated in English.
Right. So, but here's another thing. Now let's look at the legal aspect. And this is a issue that came up a lot. People say, well, if the Torah is from God, why are there machlokot? You always hear that question. Why are there machlokot if the Torah is from God, right? So why are there machlokot if the Torah is from God? So here's the thing. Hu yivchin ben hashorashim, Rabbi Avraham ben Daud, he distinguishes between il-usul, he speaks Arabic, okay? שלא תיפול מהן מחלוקת, ובין הסעיפים, אל-פרו, שבהם נופלת מחלוקת. Okay. So here's the thing. So we have Judaism, let's look at the legal aspect, let's look at the law. You have the usul, which is the roots, or the trunk of the tree, right? That's a trunk. How many trunks do you have? You have one trunk. Okay. But then that trunk, it branches out into many, many branches. You have many branches. So you have the trunk, and then you have the serifim, you have the branches. Okay, here's the thing. What we received from Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Har Sinai. He came down from Har Sinai. He was there for 40 days and 40 nights. He came down and taught us Torah for 40 years. So every day of Moshe Rabbeinu in Har Sinai, there was a year that he taught us Torah. So he teaches us Torah. On what Moshe Rabbeinu taught us, there is no machloket. There never was a machloket. There never will be machloket. That's like the trunk. That's the trunk. That's what we got from Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Yeah? So we know Korban Pesach. We know what Korban Pesach is. Right?
Korach?
No. Korach. Right. Korach was a political machloket. I'm talking about a machloket on one of the mitzvot. Moshe Rabbeinu gave us.
Say about the tzitzit, what if it's this way instead of that way?
He asked a question.
It's all four.
By the way, there was many questions that people asked Moshe Rabbeinu. But what Moshe Rabbeinu transmitted to the Jewish people that he received in Har Sinai, there was never a machloket. I'm sorry? Exactly, correct. Now, what? Right. Now, there were questions that came up. Granted, I agree. There were questions that came up, and people asked questions, and by the way, sometimes even Moshe Rabbeinu himself doesn't know the answer, and then he goes back to Hashem, and he asks him, well, what is the answer to this question? Like Benot Zelofhad. They had no brothers, their father died, their father had assets. What happens? Do the assets go, what's going to happen, and what's the solution to that? So that was Benot Zelofhad. Another issue was the guys that were carrying the Aron of Yosef. They were Teme'im, they couldn't bring Korban Pesach. What do we do? We're going to miss Korban Pesach. All these questions come up all the time. So, I'm not saying there's no questions. But what we learned from Moshe Rabbeinu, what Moshe Rabbeinu taught us, on that, there is no machloket. That became the trunk. That's called the primary precepts. Those are the primary mitzvot. But there's other things that we studied later on, after Moses, details, issues that came up, and that is machloket. You understand the difference? What we got from God, what we got from Moshe Rabbeinu, is what we got from God through Moses. There's no machloket. What later on developed, on that there's machloket. You see, that's so important, and that's the answer to these people. So the answer to the people, well, why is there machloket? And the answer is, well, yeah, there is a machloket, because we're alive. It's a living system. And when you have a living system, there's always new issues that come up, and because we're thinking, and we're studying, and we're learning, there's always more to learn and more to study, and there's always going to be questions, right? That's so important. It's like husband and wife. The most perfect relationship is a relationship where there's always issues that you confront and deal with. And what makes it a healthy relationship is how you deal with the issues. A good, don't pray to never have any issues with your wife or any things to deal with, but rather pray that you deal with the things in a harmonious, intelligent manner. You understand? That's the prayer. I think it was, not to, I just, my mind remembers things. I guess why not? I'm not a big fan of Bruce Lee, but he once said, just memory flash. He said, don't pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to confront the difficulties in life. That's smart. Okay, I mean, again, it's just I just get these like flashes, and I saw the words, and I said I got to say it because it's relevant to what we're saying, right? So like whatever, and that's it. Okay, now back to Chachamim, Chachmei Israel. Let's go back to Chachmei Israel. Leave Bruce Lee for a moment, but I thought it was a smart thing, right? You get the idea. So Judaism, there's always issues. There's always going to be things. Don't they? Oh, we should never have machlokot. No, you want to have issues that come up, and then we debate them, and we discuss them, and how do we deal with it? And okay, here's how to deal with it. Okay, yes.
So Moshe had the direct connection to Hashem.
Yes.
Anything he wanted to know, he'd go to Hashem and ask him.
Correct.
We don't have it.
Correct. Lo b'shamayim hi.
Everybody translates things differently.
Correct. Lo b'shamayim hi. And that's the way Hashem wants it. He wants us to figure it out. He wants us to get our act together. That's what he wants us to do. So make decisions and make smart decisions. Somebody called me up to somebody.
Changed also. I mean,
What?
You have so many different. You have even like you have Ashkenazim, you have Sephardim, different roles, different laws, different. Everything changed.
Okay, that's right. That's history. That's history of law, right? Because don't forget, the exile was so long, and we were like, we were completely disconnected from each other. You had the Yemenite community, the Syrian community.
Even with the Hasidim, you have Balza, you have Pablo, you have all these.
Yeah.
And even within them, even with us, it's different.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. It's reached a point where we really need to have a unifying force, and that will be. Well, maybe that's what's happening in Israel today. Maybe Hashem is saying, guys, get together, because if you don't, it's not going to look right. Kind of, you see what's happening today in Israel, so you understand that message is kind of taking place. But okay, let's get back to the text, okay?
So you got a phone call. You were about to say something? You got a phone call, something?
Oh, yes, I mean, people sometimes call me up, advice, who to marry, So a guy somebody calls me up somebody in Israel. He's worried about his future son-in-law. Well, it was supposed to be the future son-in-law, and he's worried that he can't make a living and support his daughter. And he says, "Listen, I know I'm supposed to have bitachon in Hashem, so that's why I'm calling you up. Like, is it?" And I told him that you should have bitachon in Hashem.
What does that word mean?
You should have faith in God. Have faith in God. You should have faith in God, but it doesn't absolve you of the responsibility not to make mistakes, right? So you're not supposed to make mistakes and say, well, I have faith in God. No, you're supposed to be smart and use your brain and confront the issue. So the point I'm saying is, when your person is alive and he has a brain, there's issues, he's thinking. And when a nation is alive, there's issues, there's thinking. And there's different approaches to how to solve problems, right? So that's the whole point of this. So yeah, there's machlokot. In the human realm, there's machlokot. In the heavenly realm, which is what we see from Moses, there's no machlokot.
I like to say you have to help Hashem help you. You can't just dump it on him and just wait for things.
Exactly.
We just say this in the Tefillah. Ata is God. Honen elam da'at. Behonenu meitecha. And we ask from you, Chochmah, Binah, Balad.
English.
Grant us wisdom. Grant us wisdom so that we make no errors. Grant us wisdom so we act intelligently in life. And that's so important. והשיב בזה על הטענה העיקרית של הקראות נגד מסורת חז"ל. And in this way, the main... Okay, so one of the things that were, by the way, in those days, you know, like today, let's say, they would say the Orthodox Jews are the most prominent. In those days, you know who were the most prominent Jews? The Karaites.
Wow.
And the Karaites were the Jews who were against the Talmud, against halacha, against Torah shebe'al peh, against oral law, against the Jewish tradition. They said, let's just use the written law and that's it. Back then, the Karaites were becoming very prominent. They were becoming very powerful in the Muslim world. They had the right relationships with the various Muslim caliphates, and they were taking over. So one of the things that Hanambam did, and before Hanambam would be Abraham bin Daud and Yehuda Levi, was to confront the Karaites. So one of the main points of the Karaites is, well, if the Torah is so holy, if the Torah Shebe'al Peh, the oral law that you receive from the Hakamim is so holy, why are there so many machlokot in the Gemara? So we just answered that question. Because we're alive. That's it. No, because we're alive and smart. That's why there's machlokot. Okay, continue.
Now, the Harambam doesn't create or posek halacha specifically to counter the Karaim, right?
No.
He still stays true to the original.
Of course, but this is an intellectual issue. And Avraham bin Daud was confronting it. Correct. And but no, he's not.
It's just
No,
a philosophical point
under
of
no
view.
circumstances. Right. Under no circumstances. הבחנה זו שהיא אופיינית לבית מקדשו של רבי יוסף בן מגס. Now, and here you see that these ideas that Harambam got, it's not just Harambam. It's Rabbi Yehuda Levi, Rabbi Yosef ben Megas, Rabbi Avraham ben Daud. It was part of the tradition of Lucena, right? מורה על גישה לספרות התלמודית שונה בתכלית מגישתם של בעלי התוספות והראשונים שבספרד הנוצרית. And here's really an important thing. You mentioned something, there's Hasidim, there's Baba, there's Lubavitch, there's Satmar, there's whatever. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. Okay. And so you have Talmudic thinking. In the Talmudic thinking, the Talmud was written in Babylonia. And then the students of the people who wrote the Talmud were the Geonim. And the knowledge of the Geonim went to Spain. And we know this for many reasons. One of the reasons is that the Gemara in Masechet Yevamot, Kof Tetvav actually brings a story. Barach Hatesh of the Rabbi Biba Ravaya, the nephew of Rabbi Biba Ravaya, who was a Resh Galuta, went to visit Spain, and then when he was there, he was going to Cordova, and he died on the way from España to Cordova. So we see that already in the days of the Gemara, there was a right. Right. So
Spain is full of rabbits.
Wow.
They eat rabbits.
Rabbit season.
Sefanim. España is
Like in paella.
Yes.
Rabbits.
Etc. All right.
So we know that there was that.
Granada, we have names among the Syrians. Hamra, Beit al-Hamra.
What is that?
Yes, Granada.
Right. So we know that there was an intellectual connection between the Chachamim in Spain, these Chachamim, and the Chachamim in the Gemara. So you see, it was a living tradition that's just so important. It's not like the rabbis in Spain just decided to make it up. That's what I'm trying to say. This is a living tradition, and it all went to and by the way, it's southern Spain, and this is important. People say, well, Spain is Spain. No, Spain is not Spain. Spain didn't exist. Back then you had the region of Andalusia, which was southern Spain, and it was separate from the northern regions, which Catalonia. Till today,
Barcelona.
Spain is an artificial entity. I mean, don't tell this to Spaniards because they might get offended. But a Catalonian would be very happy with what I just said. They speak a different language. They have a different culture. They have different music, right? They have different attitudes. For example, the Spaniards are considered lazy. The Catalonians are considered very, very thrifty. And there's a proverb in Catalonian which says that the Catalonians...
Los catalanes de las piedras sacatanes.
Right.
Los catalanes, las piedras sacatanes. Yeah.
Which means...
This is the Jewish,
Same.
the catalanes are laborious.
Give them
From stones,
You make bread.
they make bread because they're very laborious.
Who's better looking?
Right.
What characterized the difference between northern and southern Spain?
So what characterized it? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What characterized it in northern and southern Spain? Well, the most important difference was northern Spain was Christian. Southern Spain was Muslim, right? And it was a different type of thinking.
They spoke
Arabic.
Arabic. In southern Spain, where Hanabam comes from, where the Hachamim of Lucena come from, they spoke Arabic. They wrote in Arabic. They spoke Arabic. It was a completely different tradition. Northern Spain was a Christian Spain, right? They were very, very anti-Semitic and ruthless to the Jews. I mean, not later on when the crazy Muslims, the Al-Muhadin came, they were also crazy, but they were at first they were a little less what?
The Moors?
Yeah, from North Africa, yes. Give me some water, please, somebody. Here. So anyway, so that's important because the Jews in Christian Spain had a different way of thinking. Why? Because back then, countries were really separate. So, if you're in a country, you're not exposed to other ideas, to other languages, to other norms. So you're really affected by the country that you're in.
You're influenced.
What?
You're influenced.
You're very influenced. By the way, we're Americans. We're influenced by America. If I tell somebody, let's have a political system where people do not vote, I'm not think I'm completely crazy. Maybe I am. I don't know. Maybe it is crazy. I don't believe in that. Don't get me wrong, please. Okay, no, seriously. I don't believe in that, but it's not the point. The point is, but if you said that in a dictatorship, if you said that in North Korea, they'll say, well, of course you shouldn't vote. That's the dumbest idea in the world to vote. So we're influenced. Now, who is right? I do believe we're right, but that's not this is not a class of political philosophy. I'm just trying to point out how the minds of individuals are affected by the society around them. So it's so important. So northern Spain is not southern Spain. The Hachamim in northern Spain were very different than the Hachamim in southern Spain. So we have Rambam, Rabbi Yosef ben Megas, and that whole intellectual tradition. They represented something very special and unique. Right? Really, something very special and unique. That's why we're studying it. That's why we're studying it now. Yeah.
I know Spain. I'm the first Jew to have my education from Spain, including a doctorate. All right. Now,
Since the Gerush.
Jahan,
Since Gerush Sefarad.
since the girls have Sephora. So I know Spain. And there was an important point.
You went from Argentina to Spain for your education?
No,
Oh.
from Argentina to Harvard.
Oh.
And the professor that I wanted to take my PhD, Alav Shalom, Professor Harry Wilson, retired in the year I arrived. He said, in this place for you to get a PhD. Many years ago, yes, when, anyhow,
So you left Harvard to go there?
that's from Harvard, they went to, yes, and,
Allergy.
so, very important. In the south of Spain, they spoke Arabic, like we speak it. The question is, if I want something, suppose I like his car. The question is, what kind of a job could I have? How can I make, cost this car costs $20,000? How can I make $20,000 to buy a car like that? If you are in northern Spain, in differently. what's the best way to kill this guy? And rob his car. And buy it. And this really are two different ways to look into the world.
Is it because the Jews were in the southern Spain and they were a good influence even on the
And the
Christians?
Christian. And this is very important when you want something. The first thought is not how could I shoot the guy and take it away from him. What kind of a business I could do? No, doing a business. And how I will be able to buy the same house, or the same car, or the same yacht. And this is a fundamental difference between Jews who want to work. And that's why Sinehab, to say something is horrible, Jews make it because they love to work.
Well, because we have the Torah and we
And
have our
that's
rules.
right, and we love to work. We love to work. And if God didn't tell us to stop, it's haram to work on Shabbat, we will work on Shabbat.
We would burn out.
Yes. So we love to work. All right? The Goyim love to kill somebody and rob his money. You know, and that's by the way, there's something that I have to mention. My grandmother, it says there's two kinds of money. There's money عندهم بركة, money that has no بركة, بركة. There's money عندهم بركة. You make money, you make $10. This $10 has بركة. That person made $100. He gives him problems with this, the married women, his wife, بركة. That comes from بركة. And the other money is the horrible word. You see what we say, you the sutra hara. From the devil. Yeah.
Okay, let's try to cover another paragraph, okay? Maybe even two. אולם מחבורי תלמידיו הגדולים אינו משתקף עולמו של רבי יוסף בן מגס במלוא קומתו. So we said Rabbi Yosef ben Megas started this project. He wanted to organize Jewish thinking, Jewish thought, so that it can be a buffer for the Jewish people, the Jews, against the Muslim thinking. Okay. רבנו מתלמידי תלמידיו ראה שליחות חייו. Harambam was a talmid of a student of Rabbi Yosef ben Megas. Rabbi Maimon Hadayan was the father of Harambam. He was a student of Rabbi Yosef ben Megas. Harambam was, let's say, the grandson of Rabbi Yosef. I'm saying, of course, intellectual grandson.
Exists among us. How?
Right. Grand student, right?
Have you heard the name Memun?
No, yeah, Moroccans.
Also the church by the name Memun. Bet Memun. Memun is the pronunciation of Maimon, not in classical Arabic, in common Arabic.
Right, so Harambam saw it as his life's mission to build the Bet Midrash of Rabbi Yosef ben Megas, to build the school of Rabbi Yosef ben Megas through books. So the books of Harambam, when you study Harambam, when you study the Mishneh Torah, when you study the Hakdamat Perusha Mishnayot, when you study the Perusha Mishnayot, when you study the Bonei Nebuchim, you're actually entering the Bet Midrash in Lucena of Rabbi Yosef ibn Megas. That's what he wanted to do, and that's what he did. And he did this so that any Jew can enter this Bet Midrash. It was like the first virtual Bet Midrash in history was the Bet Midrash of Rabbi Yosef ibn Megas, as reconstructed in the writings of Harambam by Harambam. And that's so important. And he did this because when Harambam was a very young person, at a very young age, the city of Cordova was destroyed by Ibn Tumart and his merry men of madmen. And he saw it. So he says, I can only rebuild the Bet Midrash in my books. And that's what he did. And it's around till today. Nobody can destroy what Harambam did. They tried.
Megas A to Z.
I mean, listen. What he could. I'm sure if he had more time, he would have written more. There was things, I want to do this book. I want to do that book. I wish Harambam wrote some Perushim on the Gemara. The Yosef Megas himself wrote Perushim on the Gemara. Man, I wish there was other Masechtot that he wrote Perushim on. He wrote on Masechet Shavuot. We have on Masechet Baba Batra. We probably have something. wow, like there was a lot more, but okay, he did what he did.
It's
Okay.
more popular just because he codified it better?
Not that he codified it, he organized the ideas of Rabbi Yosef ben Megas, the Perushim on the Mishnayot, the legal conclusions in the Halachot, and the philosophical ideas in the Moreh Nevuchim, all organized and structured in books. It's all there. And it's brilliant. And I don't think ever, well, no, it's not that, I don't think. There never was another Chacham who summarized the entire Torah Shebe'al Peh from A to Z like Rambam did. Never happened before. It just didn't happen, right? And it's not just what he did to the Halacha, also to Jewish thinking. In my estimation, the Moreh Nevuchim is the greatest work on Jewish thinking ever written, period. And by far, nothing comes close to it in my humble opinion. Okay, let's continue. Right. So in this book that we're reading now, in this book, the studies that this book will continue will conduct, Danim befrutrut benosim merkaziyim, deal in a detailed manner in the main subject matters brought in Sefer Hamadah. So the Mishneh Torah is divided into how many books? 14. Thank you. The first is called Sefer Hamadah, the book of knowledge. So this book that we're reading now will deal with some of the main subject matters in the book of knowledge. Right, we're just reading now the introduction, right? We're only in the introduction. And this book will shine a new light upon the spiritual world in which Harambam was raised. And Harambam's life's goal was to pass on these teachings to the future generations, and he succeeded. It's all there. And today Harambam is like, that's it. It's like that's the book. Let's do another paragraph. We have another. Actually, no, we don't. We'll do another short paragraph. Okay. Ba'akdama Mishneh Torah. And this book, I will also discuss the author, my father. In this book, I will also look at the introduction to the Mishneh Torah. So he wrote the Mishneh Torah, which is a summary of all of the Torah Shebe'al Peh, all of the Jewish law, summarized there. How many chapters in the Mishneh Torah? Who knows exactly? 1,000 chapters. Thank you. So 1,000 chapters summarizes all of the Torah Shebe'al Peh. But before he summarizes the Torah Shebe'al Peh, he has an introduction to the Mishneh Torah.
Which has a whole separate book, by the way.
Which is all.
There's another book of
Iyyunim. Yes.
Published.
Anu danim b'mosad halacha etzel hagonim v'rabbeinu. And here's what we're going to do. This book is going to show the connection, the intellectual connection, not just connection. I don't like the word connection. It's not the right word. The right word is continuity. The intellectual continuity between the Geonim, who were the students of the people who wrote the Gemara, the Emoraim wrote the Gemara. The Geonim lived in the same buildings. They spoke the same language. They had the actual text of the Gemara. And Harambam. Now that's powerful. That's really powerful, because when you show that continuity between Harambam and the Geonim, it's like, okay, you can't just ignore that, right? Right? You can't ignore Harambam at that point. It's like, this is the real Torah. Okay? I don't like sounding dogmatic, but it's like, there is truth in the world, right? What? Validation. It validates it, right? So on the one hand, we like being pluralistic, and that's just lovely. It's a beautiful word. That's great. But there's also truth in the world, okay? So like the earth is not flat, okay? Let's just get rid of that notion. The earth is actually round, okay? Pluralism or no pluralism. It's round. There's nothing we can do about it. So when you see that Harambam was just a continuation of the traditions of the Geonim, that's powerful. That's a fact that you can't ignore. So when you study the Gemara, you gotta study it in light of the Mishneh Torah. You can't just say, no, I don't go by that explanation. That's Harambam. That's a Geonim, right? So that's why it's so important. All right, let's just finish. We have another sentence. All right. HaGeonim, I'm sorry? And the Geonim actually said, about themselves that if you don't follow our traditions, you're actually going against the Gemara, because we're the students we're there. We're in the same buildings. They were our fathers.
They spoke the same language.
the same language. הלכה למעשה נודעת במסורת הבלעדית של ראשי ישיבות בבל. And that's why the yeshivot in Bavel, the yeshivot, the academies where the Gemara was written, right? And that's where the Geonim were. This is the actual Masoret received from Moshe Rabbeinu, right? From Moses. And that was transferred to the Mishneh Torah. So when you read the Mishneh Torah, you're looking at the Masoret, at the traditions that we received from Moses. That's the point. And that's why we're studying this. Arvit, anybody? Let's do it. Oh, we got a Chazan. If you want a Chazan,
I have